make this go. Here I am live, and if you can see me and hear me, let me know. A little bit late. I had to get a hold of a room. There wasn't one available right away, so I had to wait for a room to open up. At the library, I do a couple different places, but the library is a good, reliable place to do it. I got good internet and got a nice view on this one. This one's one of these big rooms, so and there's also some people that are around me, so you might hear some stuff. I can hear the what is it called? It's the air conditioner. You can hear the air, and it sounds loud to me. And I thought last time, I'm doing this one would be Facebook that I'm gonna then post later. Okay, or I'm sorry, you are Facebook. Hi Facebook. You are YouTube, which will be later. This is now, but it's for the future. This is now. You are the now, and this is the future now. So, hi future now, how now, and always it will be the past now, because anytime once it's been recorded, you can see it again and again and again. So that's a really, really cool thing. A little bit of announcement. I've got our radio show that I'm going to be doing pretty soon, the end of this month, beginning next month. It's on AM 560 here in Michigan, and it's going to be what they call, they're doing it as it's called Ask the Experts. And I prefer to call myself the authority, your natural authority. If you watch any of my YouTubes, a lot of times you'll see Jason Eagle, your natural authority. And there's a reason behind that. I've been doing a lot of study. I always do. Hi, Tara, my sister. And there's a whole study, what's called entomology. And entomology is the study of words, the study of what words mean, the study of when you put words together. So a good example is like CO. There's a whole bunch of words like con, especially that start with con, like conscript and conscience, which is actually, now if you look at it and you look at these words, it actually says, and when you were a kid, you notice these things, and you had teachers that say, oh, don't say it that way, and does it mean that? It does. So conscience is what your conscience would be, or you spell it conscience. So what you can do is you can break it up into what is just the different parts of speech, or the different spellings. So anytime, what is a con? A con would be, if you call it just a con, the contrary, a con. A con is a person that is conning you, meaning doing the opposite of what you think, a person that's tricking you. So now the reason is there's also a whole bunch of legal terminology, which is if it starts with if it's two consonants, and then, or if it starts with a vowel and a consonant. So the change from expert to authority, EX stands for X, okay? And that means, so you would think expert means good, positive, but the actual meaning of the word is X, especially if you take X, like who's your ex? You were with them, but you're not with them anymore because there was a problem. So it's not the best. The best is not an expert. In fact, if you really understand language, it's the not expert is the expert. So a better word would be authority, and part of it also has to do with even the spelling, which is AU. It starts with authority, AUTHO. So AU stands for, where also do we see AU? We see AU in the periodic table of elements, and that stands for AU, it stands for gold. So the authority, or authentic, it's not a fake, it's not a con, it's true. And it's true because it's based in the reality. So what gives you the authority to be the authority? You take authority, meaning, now also I can take the authority, meaning I can stand up and my words stand, my words are gold, my words are truth. Most people kind of go, well, the expert means you got to have a piece of paper, All right, or what gives you the right to say that you're authority? Well, what gives you the right to say that you're an expert could be argued. If you don't have that piece of paper, then so is it the piece of paper that gives it to you, or is it the words? Is it the ideas? Is it the intention behind the ideas? When do you take authorship? When you write something, you are the author, which is you made it up. And you are the originator of it. You are the holder of its value. So gold holds its own value. And gold is, there's other currency, what we would call money is fiat currency. And fiat, you can also get into the etymology of fiat, which is fiat means it's fake, right? So our dollars and our cents, which do they make sense? So what's your spelling? CENTS or SENSE? Cents. Is it your cents? How many cents? Your 2 cents. Okay, so they sound alike. They're spelled differently, but sometimes they have the same meaning. Sometimes they have the opposite meaning. Sometimes the opposite meaning is what you're I would call it unintelligent, but it's just uninformed. You think you're saying one thing, but you're actually saying the other thing. And even people that understand it, even that word, understand, okay? So when you say, someone says, do you understand me? When you go and stand before the judge, it says, do you understand this? It's a legal term that's saying, do you stand under? Now, they flip it and they put understand and they stand under, but the meaning of what you think is do you comprehend? Meaning, are you not crazy? Are you not retarded? Are you not, too young? So we think that it's do you understand, meaning, a crazy person doesn't know their name, or a person that's not old enough is not going to be able to understand. Well, what we're really talking about comprehending. But in that terminology, understanding, especially in the time frame that it's in, which is the very first thing he says, is you verbally essentially signing a waiver saying, whatever you come up with, I will abide because I will stand under your judgment. So this thing may play out, but it's already been decided in the very beginning, which is maybe you'll get what you want, but maybe I'll get what I want, and it's always going to be what I want. And because you already signed the authority, or you gave the authority to me. Okay? So this is going back to why I say I am a natural health authority. Before I used to say expert, but I now understand, I now comprehend that I was double talk. It was double speak, meaning it said one thing, but it meant another thing. Now, you and I both agreed that, well, no, expert. Well, it means you've studied a lot and you know what you're saying. Okay, so both you and I have the same, but there's a subconscious thing that's behind what's called etymology. You may not understand that you don't understand, but words are vibrations. And just me putting these words, these are vibrations that are going through you. And there is what's called coherence and decoherence, okay? And the things that are coherent, vibrations that have, so you can vibrate something that makes it stronger, or you can vibrate something that makes it weaker and pulls it apart. And words like expert pulls it apart. You think that it's building something up. It's building up a false impression because it's based upon laws of language and vibration that X cancels out. X cancels out the pert. And what's pert? And pert to itself, it's pertinent. Okay, pertinent, which is, it means it's what's pertinent mean? Pertinent means that it is something that is important, applies to the meaning of the thing. Like when you get into, say, a person says, why weren't you here? Well, people say, well, this morning I had some breakfast, and that's not pertinent. It doesn't apply to that. It's what's pertinent to is a car pulled out in front of me and that's why I'm late. Okay, so there's so getting into this is I think about a lot of things, and I've researched a lot of things, more than just about health, because health is also language, understanding, or even I have to be reminded that we've been programmed and I'm saying what I'm not supposed to be saying. So get better about what you comprehend and what you mean. And sometimes crafting the words is important, and it matters. Because if you're trying to I'm trying to send vibrations out to you that are going to build your health up and build my idea up and build, if it's upon a foundational truth, which is a true thing about that nature, this nature and that nature, then it will stand. And then it will, like in legal terms, it will hold water. Okay? So in legal terms and in comprehension, is if it's got a hole in it, it's going to leak out. And so that means that there are even things in health, and we've all found this, which is we may have started on some sort of healthy path. People start eating, changing their eating. A good example is a person says, I'm going to watch what I'm eating, and instead of going to eat at that burger joint, I'm going to go to Panera, and I'm going to start eating more salads, and you'll get a bunch of people that will help them. And they intended it. That change was a logical change. I'm going from this overcooked and myopic and very tasty, but yet a lot of bad stuff, to stuff that still tastes good, but it's just a simple thing, which is it's a salad. It's raw. It's not much is done to it. It's not cooked. So that should be better. That's a natural choice. And they're all natural. So even the hamburger is natural because it all comes from nature. But the more that's between it, straight from nature, to our mouth, more that's done to it, there's possibilities of having negative things to it. So if you think about it, it's even in science, it is more energies are added to it. And if you start off with a song of just humming a song, and then you have more people humming, and then you add a guitar, and then you add this, and we're all playing, it starts to harmonize. But then we get to a point of where, let's say we add a kazoo, or we add something, even though it's maybe in the same song, really it starts to be off-putting. And then we can start adding what's called dissonance, which is the anti-notes to the notes of what you're doing. And now it really starts to sound chaotic, and now it starts to be where now it's not working. Before it was relaxing and it was building up life for me, now it's actually pulling life away from me. It's stressing me out, it's putting a stress on my body. So getting to a little bit of what we were talking about today, which is pain management. What is pain? What is pain? Why do we got to manage it? And well, this is a kind of what I was just talking about. Is it starts somewhere, and it starts with everything starts with a belief. Everything starts with a vibration, and because a belief is a thought, and a thought is a vibration, and we can have thoughts that harmonize with. If we follow those thoughts out and we follow them and turn them into an action, into a doing, there are certain doings that we can do that will make us healthier. And there's certain doings that we can do that pull health away. A good example is you have a thought about an invention. You then turn that invention, a thought about, I'm going to build something, I'm going to make something, knitting a sweater. My thought is you got to think about what it is, a sweater, and then you got to think about who it's for, and then there's a lot of choices in terms of color changes and stuff like that. Okay, we then take that sweater and then we sell it. Okay, that's one of the other extrapolations. We can either give it or we can sell it. Most of our world is taking a thing that we can then sell, because we don't necessarily make things the way we used to, which is for a particular person in mind. This is made for anybody. And so the selling means is that it gives the ability to anyone have access to it. even though it may have some meaning in it. Green sweater, blue sweater, all these different things, okay? So we then sell that thing, okay? Now the reason for selling it is to get more money or something like that, but that it doesn't end there. It ends with more life. Everything's about, if you're going to turn that money into food and then turn that food into energy, which turns into more body, it all then transfers into life. We can also take that money and turn it into, let's say, going somewhere, turn it into an experience, turn it into a vacation. We can also take that money and we can turn it into the casino and the bar. Now sometimes, I'm not throwing the casino out with the bathwater, because sometimes it's all entertainment, and people have a right to take that. And I was going to sit in a movie anyways and waste that money. I spent something and I got something for it, and people choose to do that. But there are times when and the hopes is that the enjoyment that you got out of the movie, the enjoyment of the time that you got at the casino, if things are working well, then it gives you more life, okay? But if things are not working well, and is a greater propensity for certain things to give up on working well quicker. Casino, okay? Maybe fun for a little bit, but can't last forever. And it can't really last very long. Or turn that into drugs. Can't last very long. So maybe you get a high off of it, but it is stressing your body and turning into something, which then, now we get into, say, pain. Okay, now we look at, like, for instance, many people are going, okay, I've had 10 years, I've had 5 years of these, I went out drinking too much, or I ate too much sugar, which is, I turned these possibilities of any type of resource, whether it be money, time, and sometimes too, this stuff is just in our environment. It's around us, which is, you could be a kid that is living in a house and your parents provide all this stuff. But just because it's in the cupboard doesn't mean that you should drink it or eat it all the time. So sometimes, our efforts, our ideas that turn into efforts, work that then turns into efforts, is it helping or is it harming? And what we see is that I'm going somewhere with this, which is, it is these choices that has led to our pain. That's hard for people to hear because it has a responsibility. Now, I will give people a little bit of leeway, which is, there's a lot of things that we thought in this world, that we were taught, that we could do as much as we want, or we could do it at all, and there were no repercussions. That's wrong. And as we get older and more mature, that's wrong. And we start to know that. It does matter what you spend your money on, spend your time, turn your thoughts into works. Now, can we look at the very beginning, before a thought then turns into things? Are there certain thoughts that if we watch, or certain intentions that we watch, that if you're just an observant person, you notice that there are certain things that carried out will have a bigger highway to hell, or a narrow path to heaven. Hell's pain. Hell is discomfort. Okay? Heaven is bliss and the right thing, the right fit. Yes. Okay? So much of our pain has started with these bad choices, and also the addiction to these bad choices, which is just patterns, stuck in patterns. I did it that way, I'm going to do it again just because I don't even know if it works or it works. In fact, I look back, it's not working, but what else am I going to do? There's a lot we're going to do. There's a lot we can do. So part of my practice is I'm kind of like a detective. And I really understand, there's that word again, I understand, I comprehend, I really am putting together a full width and breadth of how deep does the rabbit hole go? How deep? So when people come to me for health, and their first thing coming to me for health, almost 100%, at least 90% is I can't get to health because I'm too much pain. I have something that I want to get out of the way before I get to health. Health is in that bliss state. Health is increasing. Health is adding more energy, is adding more life, feeling more pleasure, these types of things. But most people agree it's like there's a monster on my back and I cannot sit here at this beast, enjoy it, which would be pleasure, until I get that thing out of my face, until that alien stops chewing my face off. Okay, so most people that's going to be diabetes, that's going to be joint problems, which is inflammation and degradation, that's going to be arthritis, that's going to be a lot of digestive problems. Oh, my guts are so messed up. A lot of head problems, a lot of headaches and things, a lot of sleeping problems, a lot of sinus problems, dental problems, all of these things. Okay, they're all discomforts, which is, again, dental is a perfect example. It's like, I don't care how wealthy you are and how pampered you are. If you got a sore tooth, if you got a toothache, nothing helps. Nothing's good. You can't enjoy it. You can be drugged out of your mind and you can't enjoy it. That's the problem. This is even taking the drugs or even the natural remedies to block the pain. That's not what we really, and now that becomes a crutch. Now we become stuck to that. And that's what you would call the traditional pain management model, which is in the medical community. When you say pain management, you mean drugs. That's what you mean. 100% of the time, the first thought process is, oh, you mean drugs. What type of drugs do people do for pain management? Whether it be that's how we got into the opiate problems, the opiate crisis and everything, because it was an answer to a problem. But it was a very bad answer. It was a partial answer. It blocks the pain, but it doesn't get underneath. It never satisfies. Well, how the heck did I get in this problem in the first place? And people go to their doctors to get that answered, and they never get it answered. And it's the bait and switch. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doctors. This is the best world to be in for doctors and patients. What's happened is and clients and this whole thing. It's just, you have to know, it is caveat emptor still, which is buyer beware. And if you think that insurance means you're not a buyer, if you think even guaranteed health care means you're not a buyer, you are a buyer, absolutely. You paid for what you get, even if you think you didn't pay nothing. Your life pays for it, your taxes, even if people that have never worked. We come into this world with value. You are a valuable being, and your birth certificate or your certificate of live birth is literally traded on the stock exchange as a tradable commodity. So you may come into this world poor as dirt, but that's not true, because other people are trading that poor as dirt thing. So there's a value. And you live in a country that if you end up in an emergency room, they have to treat you. Yeah, you may be saddled with some debt later, okay? But they have to treat you. They can't refuse you. This is a miracle. This is a miracle of a place to be. But that doesn't mean that it's all carte blanche in terms of there's a lot of mistakes that can happen along the way. There's a lot of thumbs in the pudding pie of that. And there's a lot of misinformation on how the human body works, what the human body is, and what pain is. So I'm going to get in a little bit. I'm going to answer your questions. I've not seen some questions. If we have any on Facebook Live, go ahead, send me your comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rolling. We're talking about pain management, where it comes from. And like I said, we'll get into, I got all kinds of great ideas that are staring you right in front of your face, that many of them are old things, many of the things that you have in your house, many of the things that you could do to be as effective or more effective than your pain pills, whether it be over the counter, whether it be the prescription, all kinds of things, because each one of them is targeted for a particular type of pain, particular type of source of pain. Not all inflammation is alike. Not all pain is inflammation. Yes, all pain is inflammation, but when we say inflammation, that's too broad a term about if you could zoom in into the body and see what's poking you, call pain a poke. There's many things that poke you, okay? Just like in the car, sit in the back seat. You can have your brother punching you, Okay, that's pain. You can have your sister sitting at you and pointing your finger this close to your nose going, I ain't touching you. I'm not touching you. That's pain. And you can literally have them sit there, not even doing that, and just give you the look. And that's pain. It's the same thing. If you're in the right state, that pain of them not saying anything to you is worse than, why don't you just punch me? It'd be better if you punch me. This silent treatment is way painful. So there's all different levels of pain, okay? Now, but pain is, now let me back up here. What I tell people, and I found this to be true in my life, and I found this to be true in a ton of people, is pain comes to us like a barking dog going and barking at us and bothering us. And you could be standing there going, geez, God, I'm trying to talk to these people. Go away, dog, you bother me. That WC Fields thing. Give it a bone, right? Block it. Put up a wall. Block it so you stop hearing it, okay? That's the pain blockers, right? Okay? But it's going to keep coming back, right? Well, I'll remind you of what we probably know, one of the most greatest analogy. It's been used in movies over and over again. It's a concept, which is a dog comes up barking to you. You got two things, and you got two things about what it can mean. One, he's irritating you, or two, what is it, lassie? Is there somebody stuck in a well? That's it. That's what pain is. It is somebody coming up to you going, it's an energy coming up to you going, something's not right. And it's a messenger going, follow me. I will show you where the problem is. We follow Lassie. She was annoying to us. She wouldn't stop barking. She was even pulling on our pant leg, going, follow me. And all those movies showed that the first idiot person was like, get away, dog, But it was the child or the persistence of even Lassie that stuck with it. And then at the very end, it's like, oh, thank goodness, Lassie, you are what you are. And thank God we listened to you and we saved that little girl from the well or whatever it was. Then you thank it, okay? But you notice every stupid episode, it's as if the same characters forget as if what Lassie had done. It's like amnesia. Everyone runs into amnesia. And pain does that to it too. Pain literally, I know people that have had traumatic events where, they were shot and they were run screaming or they had something and they were then treated and it was days later they go, I don't remember it. It was a blank. It was a blur to me, and I was there and they were in super pain and they were screaming, ecstatic. But the mercy of the brain mind wipes them, and they don't remember it, And they weren't knocked out. They were literally awake, but because it was so much trauma, there is a possibility of the brain can literally go and just erase it and just leave them with just kind of a blank, or even the warm fuzzies. I kind of thought it was, I don't remember the pain. That is wonderful. And literally our mind can erase time for you. Other people or the recording may have recorded, but your mind isn't recording. That's all that matters, is what did your mind record? So getting back to, there's a different whole MO about what is pain management. My style of pain management is the Lassie model, which is, it's a hierarchy, which is, yes, you got to get out of pain. Yes, you have to address what it is, but you ultimately have to get to the other side of it, because the real pain of pain is the pain of the thought of pain. The anguish, the memory of what it would have been, okay, what it could be, and waiting for it to happen, waiting for that thing to get peeled off, or waiting for that needle to come. It's more painful than the quick little shot is, okay? And one of the big pain things is that the anguish of the pain, and part of the anguish is because we are still on the side of, you don't want pain, you want to avoid pain, right? Well, that's kind of like a corporation that says, the CEO says, don't tell me bad news. Don't want to know bad news. Bad news, you get fired, right? Bad news, boom, you get offed, right? The emperor wears no clothes. the whole kingdom will fall apart. So if we say that we don't want pain and just give me the life without pain, then we'll never receive signals about what is really truly going on, and then the disease will eat away at you, and then you'll suddenly fall apart, either into a sociological tragedy, or meaning the pain not addressed, which means now we broke up, now we got a divorce. A lot of divorce is coming from pain, and it's emotional pain and it's physiological pain, and many times people go later and go, oh God, like I divorced that person, but I really loved them, and I was just irritated, and I was really cranky baby, and I made a decision. I'm using that as one of the examples in terms of not addressing pain correctly, because the correct way to it is always, the correct thing to any tragedy is, I waited around long enough, it ultimately turned into the right thing. At least when the engine broke, it showed me where the weak places were. And so instead of going, I hope to avoid this pain or hope to avoid this, that's the best thing. It is, no, I hope to deal with it. And number three, which is the other side of this, is it always made me better. It always made me better. It always pointed out where something was missing. And once I satisfied that, then not only did the pain go away, but the pain acted as a messenger to bring me up to my true selves, which once I overcame the pain, I addressed what it was calling for, which then in turn made me stronger, then in turn made me healthier. Then in turn, Lassie, instead of avoiding Lassie going, hope that dog don't bark at us anymore, it's going, keep on the lookout for when that dog starts barking, because she's on the lookout, she'll find something. So keep on the lookout when pain happens, and it's the right addressment, it's the right attitude. Meaning the right attitude gets you not only to address it and fix what it is, or I like to use this other analogy too, which is the Sixth Sense. And I'm going to ruin the Sixth Sense for a spoiler alert if you never saw it, okay? Sixth Sense is about this little boy who sees dead people. I see dead people, right? And it has Bruce Willis in it, and Bruce Willis is actually dead. He's dead the whole time, and Bruce Willis doesn't know it, but the little boy knows it, right? But doesn't let on that he knows it. Now the little boy is trying to get advice from what we think as the viewers is it's a man, living man, who's an investigator or whatever, and he's trying to help this kid because this kid is traumatized by these ghosts that show up. And when we finally see what these ghosts look, well, yeah, you'd be traumatized too because they're scary. And this is a little kid who shouldn't have to see this. But and he wants it to go away. He wants to block. He wants to manage it, make it go away, right? Well, each one of what is the true moral of that story is he has to face them. Because they've come to him, because he's the only one that can see them, and they're saying, there's a problem. I died, and you need to see why I died. Here's a mystery. And once the little boy is then able to then solve the mystery, they then go away and never come back to him again. Now, maybe there's others that come after, but what it is the thing I wanted to block and make go away, if I can address it, it leads me to something that the world is missing. So in the Sixth Sense, the little boy has the gift of having what's not right in the world come to him and say, can you right this? Can you make it right? Can you solve this so that the future is better? So that's what pain is these things that show up to us that say, you need to listen to me. You need to respect me. You need to welcome me. You need to honor me because I'm here to help you. Take something away from you that you shouldn't be doing, something that you don't know about, or get you to bring something into, especially just in the mechanics of it, your body, which is missing. And you can't go on like this because what will happen is you will spread this disease to the rest of the people. And if it's grumpiness, people go, well, we don't want to spread like tuberculosis, or we don't want to spread the cold. I tell you what's worse than the cold. It's narcissism. It is mental anguish. It is gossip. And gossip comes from pain. Something's not right, and you're avoiding addressing it. So you then deal with other not right, which has got nothing to do with you. So like soap opera type of stuff. Like, why are you wasting your time on getting worked up on other people's, facetious, made up dramas and gossiping about that? It really belies that you are avoiding what really bothers you, what's really going on. And we take on the other burdens of other things to cover up, and pain does that. Pain will hide itself. But I think it's more to it's our modern society in terms of our conception of what good and evil is, good and bad, and what we are. So that's where I get different, which is we really fix pain and we don't have to manage pain. Part of the management is just how do we get here in the first place? And there's so many causes. It's your food. It is your energy. It is old traumas, spinal traumas that have not been addressed. It is mental, sociological stuff. It is conceptual. It is relational. It is sleep. It is detox. It is all of these things. And so no wonder that we're not all in pain. There's so many things that we're not getting right here, but we have the possibility of getting right. So let's start with what I have found in my practice have been really, if you're in pain, what are some of the first things to start dealing with, okay? Number one, a lot of pain is inflammation. And one of the things that's driving inflammation, so inflammation traditionally, typically, and actually is all a response to an infection. Now, whether it be bacterial, whether it be viral, whether it be a whole host of parasitic, whether it be a whole host of all different types of things. So let's explain what infection is. We would call infection meaning, good example of infection is you step on a nail, and it was an old rusty poopy nail from the barn. It goes into your foot, basically injecting poop into and if you put poop in your foot, it's going to get infected because there's these things that are living there that are going to start spreading. And then your body's going to send your immune system to be this battle in this war to stop it off. Now, if it gets bad, you get tetanus and you get lockjaw because this infection starts spreading throughout your whole body, right? Okay, so infection is a foreign invader. Okay, so what that means is just we have an opinion about so streptococcus, strep throat. Okay, where did you get it? You got strep throat, and now it's like all white and coated, and I can't swallow, and I'm in a lot of pain. Obviously, infection, and now we got a fever and stuff like that. Where did we get it from? So germ theory states that it's out there, and you breathed it in, or it got injected, or you wiped it, or whatever. It was out there, and then it got in there. Okay, well. And so what that means is that it shouldn't be there. So a good example is like when people say, okay, pain, a lot of the abdominal pain, gas and bloating is candida, which is that candida is the name of a yeast. Candida albicans. There's all kinds of yeasts, okay? And yeast overgrowth in our body, well then a urinary tract infection is a yeast overgrowth. They start to grow, blah, 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 and then it gets red and inflamed. It hurts when I pee, right? That's a good example of pain, okay? So yeast is not supposed to be there, right? Streptococcus is not supposed to be there, right? E. coli is not supposed to be there, right? No, that's not true. It's supposed to be there. So we think it's like, okay, we got injected with aliens, right? They invaded us, these foreign invaders. No, that's not what it really is. Because when we take a healthy person that has a healthy immune system and we culture their body, we're going to find all of these things in their body. A really, really healthy person and many healthy people. So the best, healthiest people that you're going to find are people that live in nature and that are the farmers that have the soil probiotics, meaning they literally have swallowed some dirt and they got some dirt underneath their fingernails and they are exposed to all these different things, right? And so when you culture their body, the really healthy ones that are strong and report that they have no pain, you're going to find these things in their body, but they are in the right proportions, meaning your immune system and your whole system is set up to have everything in balance. So it's not this, give a person an antibiotic to kill this thing. Well, if you've done that, what happens is then you do it too much, then you build up this imbalance. And then what happens is then all that's left are the bad guys. There's not supposed to be, so your whole body, in terms of normal functioning of what's living in it, is supposed to be like New York, 1830s, right? Brooklyn, New York, 1830s, which is, it was so full of immigrants, and each square foot was essentially a different, community. But it was a hodgepodge of this community, and it was a glorious time because it was loud and chaotic, but you could get anything you possibly wanted. You could get the best of the furniture, you could get the worst, you could get anything, you could get food, you could get anything, any product, service is right at your fingertips, and it was all very readily accessible, and it was this hodgepodge. And in fact, it was so well put together because it organically grew together and it grew out of diversity. So the diversity that was said, and there is still places like Detroit is still like this to a certain extent, certain ghetto parts of the city that literally the cops don't go to, because it's not that they're afraid, it's because they take care of their own neighborhood. It's like, don't even go in there, they've got it taken care of. And they do, and they take care of their own community. So the body's whole living organism system, when you are not in pain and you are living healthy and strong and adaptive, you are exposed to all of these things, but you have it in good, healthy balance, and you are very quickly responsive. And so you're not overreactive, and all of these things that we would say is the source of pain in terms of infection, they're there, they're just not too much. Okay, so now going back to infection being, let's redefine what infection is. It's an imbalance. It's not that you have E. coli, you got too much of it without the balance of the anti-E. coli or the whole mediator to E. coli, which is a whole bunch of other stuff. So pain, if you restore the balance, you will then see the pain go away, okay? So now, a lot of times it can take longer, so people want that magic bullet. Okay? Now, I'll address some of those things too, because there's some really basic magic bullet that work very fast. But pain, if you say I'm going to manage pain, you got a short game and you got a long game. And the long game is your most important, because that's how you got here in the first place. And by satisfying that, you will then get to where the promised land, which is, can I get where I don't have this pain anymore, right? Where it doesn't keep coming back. Yes, and I don't have to keep taking something in order to block it and make it go away. Yes. So let's get into what are some of the basic things, okay? Any person who's dealing with chronic pain, chronic inflammation, chronic, whether it be arthritis, I just take a whole bunch of them, okay? Heart disease, all of this stuff. Carbohydrates, are you feeding it? Are you feeding your pain? And the things that create pain primarily feed on sugar, and they feed on simple sugar. And the most available simple sugar to them, meaning they eat it fast and it feeds them and go, rah, that's wheat. Modern wheat is a super sugar. It may not taste like sugar, so bread does not taste sweet to you, but it is sweet. And it's the way that it's fueled and the way that it's digested is it starts to feed the bacteria, the viruses, the parasites, and as well as, again, this imbalance. It makes the imbalance worse. It is giving a sucker to a screaming brat. It just makes them worse. Okay? So if people are dealing with chronic pain, start working with your diet. And one of the first things you can do is start trying what's called the ketogenic diet. Or as simple as just really reducing your carbohydrates and maybe even eliminating the carbohydrates. You're not going to die without carbohydrates, especially if you're a modern American. Now, if you are very, very skinny and weak and sickly, you've got to be careful about how you do all this stuff, and you have to take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt, and you do this slowly, but it's the same process. You do the same process, which is getting your body to fuel off of protein and fat, in particular, your own body's fat, and then some good high quality dietary fat. What you're doing is you're starving the insulin response, because insulin response is a response to excess sugar, and insulin resistance is the underlying factor. It is the floor that's underneath holding up all pain. So pain stands on the floor of insulin resistance, okay? Well, insulin resistance came from not handling sugar too well, but it came from because we were eating too much sugar. Now, there are people that are born with type 1 diabetes and they got other issues going on, but even this will help them, which is I've treated people with type 1 that have gotten dramatically better and are not even injecting insulin anymore. Both type 1, type 2, all this type of thing. And it's just through altering their diet. And this one's the ketogenic diet. Gluten-free. You'll find many people that even just simply eliminating the gluten. Gluten, people, if you're sensitive to it or allergic to it, you are in pain. And you don't know, so people say, well, I'm just going to get tested. I'll do allergy testing. I don't trust that. I don't. Because I've had people that have tested for stuff and eating it caused a problem. I've had people that tested not for stuff and not eating it. What's the true thing is not what shows up on this screen or shows up on that, that test report. It is empirical evidence, which is how do you feel every day? And I'm going to tell you, most people are going to wake up, if they've done a week of, I didn't eat these carbohydrate for breakfast, and in fact, I even kind of skipped breakfast or waited for breakfast, as long as you don't get dizzy and stuff like that. And then I fed myself with protein and fat, and if I needed more to eat, it was non-carbohydrate vegetables. That means not potatoes. That would be celery, cabbage, broccoli. So this diet of what's called meat and greens. Now, people want to be vegetarian too, and you can do this plant-based too, okay? You can do a plant-based a little bit harder to get some of the good fats in, but you can do it. The big kicker is by eliminating the carbohydrates, especially the carbohydrates that I first wake up. Because when you wake up, you are in what's called the sympathetic nervous system. Your system is in the hunter-gatherer, which is ain't got food, gotta go get food, right? And nervous about it, and twitchy, and like the crouching tiger. It has to be, because you have to survive. And most people traditionally, your ancestors did not have refrigeration. They did not have food. There was no storable food. There was no breakfast. So you got up and you worked before breakfast. And so what you had your breakfast from, your very first breakfast, was your liver. You store what's called glycogen reserves in your liver from the night before and the day before. We can store days worth of glycogen reserves, meaning you stack off your liver. Now, the glycogen reserves that are then digested into your first meal through intermittent fasting is very healing, very soothing, and has no need for insulin. So you don't have to inject any insulin from your pancreas, thereby giving your pancreas a rest. And so if we then eat food in terms of, again, protein, fat. So what is fat? Avocados are fat. Walnuts are fat. Butter is fat. Grass-fed beef and lamb and salmon, that's fat and protein. we've got a whole host of, whether it be animal-based, plant-based, whatever, to your heart's delight. Do your research on this stuff and figure out what that is. What I'll take is any person who's gone, I really been dealing with, I got to be on these pain pills a lot. First of all, change that. And I'm going to tell you probably about 80% of people after a week of that, they really did their best. They're going, no doubt, man, I feel way better. I don't feel as much pain. I feel way better. You stick with that and it's going to start, because what you're doing is you're starving out the thing that's feeding this inflammatory part of pain, okay? Then there's the next thing that can cause a lot of pain, okay? A lot of people with headaches, a lot of people with joint aches, they are dehydrated. If your body is Tin Man and you're too dry and your brain is like this raisin that's shriveling up, literally the brain, if it gets dehydrated, it can start to pull away from the skull and start to shrink and reduce in size, literally pulling on the brain. Or it can literally have another effect, which is if we get too dehydrated, we'll actually swell in places. So dehydration can then turn into brain swelling. And so brain swelling can be, oh my God, I got this headache. There's another thing that contributes to dehydration, which is too little salt, too low of sodium levels, or too low of salt and potassium, and these types of things, which is the electrolytes. People that don't have enough electrolytes are going to be more prone to pain. Part of it is just because the electrical conductivity, because now I'm going to get into another thing, which is we also know what all pain is. This is quantified in physics, okay? I said that underlying what is this inflammation, okay? But there's mechanics of you feeling pain, because everything is a nerve fiber. Everything is a computer. Everything is, your whole experience of pain is what is pain. Even though it's caused by inflammation, what is it? It's an electrical signal. And what is an electrical signal or electromagnetic of what our body is what's called charge distribution. How well does the charge go through, okay? When we have correct electrolytes that are dissolved in our bloodstream and are dissolved in all of our fluids, then when the electricity, the wave of electromagnetic frequencies that's got to go from here to here, if it's able to go through a medium that has enough of these dissolved minerals in it, it goes through easy, okay? That means there's less friction, and there's less time lag, so less pain. So pain is charge distribution or charge blockage, meaning you can take any part of the body, say a person that has a tumor that's causing pain, whether it be a benign tumor or a malignant tumor, you can actually have a pain, where you have what's called those knots. All of these, or just an area of like, I just feel an ache, I feel a pain. We can hook electrodes up to that person, and externally you can see galvanically, what's called galvanic skin response, is it starts to dull down, and it's supposed to allow for conductivity of electricity. It's a block. And then you can also test and find within electromagnets, there's positive and negative. There's charges of positive and charges of negative. So what has been found in all abnormal tissue as well as pain is it's stuck in a positive charge. So that's why a lot of the healing therapies like laser and magnetic therapies and energy therapies and all of these, what you just call energy devices, they are plasma devices that people report, oh my God, I feel less pain. Those copper bracelets that most people, when they wear them, the athletes wear them because it reduces pain. It increases, what is it really doing? Talk about blood flow and everything, but all blood flow is mediated through what's called charge distribution and negative polarity. So your cells want to be negatively charged, which means if we think about a cup, right? An empty cup is negative, meaning waiting to be filled. But a positive cup is a full cup, and good. If you like drinking wine, okay, if it's a full glass of wine, great, okay? But if someone comes along here and says, I got this really nice cognac, right? Well, either you drink it down or you hold your glass out, and if it's full, nothing's going into it. So you cannot receive. So you got to dump it out, drink it or dump it out before you can receive what's next. So even on charge distribution is pain in the body is literally the body blocking receiving anything. It's receiving a charge, but it's also blocking receiving nutrients. It's blocking, we can find areas of pain where you can test it and you find that the oxygenation has gone down. It's very low oxygen. In fact, there's a lot of pain area that's what's called anaerobic, and anaerobic means without oxygen. And then that starts to feed these anaerobic bacteria that then they start to cause pain because they're eating you. They're bugs that are eating you, and then they are pooping in you and secreting their poop, which is a waste product, which is literally like an acid. So if you poured acid, ow, that hurts. So much of pain inside our body is literally these bacteria type of things and other things that are pooping acid in our body, and we have a burn, we have a hurt because it's all locked up in there and it's stuck. So one of the very first things that is so important with charge distribution and draining the pain through a liquid is, number one, hydration, and number two, having enough salt in your diet, having enough sea salt. Average person, average adult is around a full teaspoon per day, and you have a whole bunch of people, what, that's way too much. No, it's not. It's not. We are designed to have, and again, it's an electrolyte, meaning with not enough electricity or not enough minerals in the fluid, the wave or the electric conductivity goes slowly through it. So instead of going through air, it's going through molasses, and it's hard. And then sometimes it can reach blockages, which means it doesn't get there at all. And if the charge doesn't get from here to here, if the cell phone call doesn't get from here to here, you're lost in a field. And if you need me to tell you where to go, you're stuck. And there's a lot of anguish that comes with being lost in a field, waiting for someone to call you, go right, go left, right? So this is our body. Is that much of the pain is coming from, it's losing communication because there's not enough minerals in the whole body in order for the transmutation or the transfer of the charge potentials. Your brain's got to control everything. Your brain's got to sense the pain. Your brain's got to communicate with everything. There's a part of your body that is setting the pain, but that part of your body is the extension of your brain. So it's all your brain talking to itself, putting feelers out and telling me what's going on here and receiving a message. And again, going back to what I said at the beginning, this pain is all the body going, something's not right. You got to get this right. You're missing this. You've got too much of this. You got not enough of this. You're not even getting any of this, and you're going to starve if you don't have this. You're pushing too hard to get through this when there's a better way to do it. It's all a response to, listen to me, I'm trying to help you, okay? So hydration is very huge with people who have chronic pain. Hydration with correct salt. We also talked about like fats. Not having enough fat in your body, not having enough of the oils, not being able to have, because oil is like a salve. Internally, digestive fat is energy. Fat also is a stored hormone. Fat also is a repository to hold, it's like a storage container or like a back closet to hold toxins. If you can't eliminate those toxins immediately, it stores it in fat. So fat has this wonderful thing, but we've got to be able to digest fat. When many people that have pain in their body, you're going to find that they have a jammed up liver. They have a jammed up gallbladder and they have a jammed up liver, meaning they're not secreting, the bile that they're creating is too thick and sludgy. So when it's too thick and sludgy, it doesn't get squirted available. So it means it's your soap container. Digesting and getting fat into the cells, which is the cells need these essential fatty acids, and essential fatty acids are the thing that heals the pain in the joint, are the thing that what the brain is made out of. But when you eat fat, you're mostly water and oil don't mix. If you take a glass of water and pour some olive oil or motor oil, whatever, it's just going to sit on top, right? And it doesn't mix, and it's got to get in there because most of your cells have this water, especially most of the pain. If you're going to deliver pain relieving juice, if your body makes its own pain relieving juice, it does. It makes hormones, which is, the natural opiates, the opiate receptors. We make our own opiates. We make our own THC. We make our own CBDs. We make our own DMT. We make our own hormones that are these things that are able to not only soothe pain, but heal the part of the pain because they're reattaching the charge distribution. So the external pain relievers make it worse, whereas they're a pale imposter compared to what our body does. So our body's designed, but see, these are all hormones, and hormones have to be able to get into the system. So if you got a lot of pain, especially a lot of joint pain, it's kind of like the Tin Man, and you would say he needs an oil change. You know, these rusty joints, some oil in there. Well, how's the oil got to get in there? It's got to get in through your liver, and your gallbladder. So the first step is when many people have pain, aside from, like I said, work on your water, work on your salt, also work on, many times, I would assume you're probably having a problem with digesting fats. So you can go to the health food store and you can get what's called lecithin. You can get it in a liquid form called soy lecithin. You can also get it in a powder that you can put in your smoothies. I'm sure you can get them in these capsules and stuff like that. And soy lecithin is an emulsifier. It acts as a stand-in gallbladder. And if your gallbladder is jammed in, it steps in, goes into your digestive tract, and makes sure that oil and water is able to mix. Thereby, you're able to deliver, and then you can have time in order to start to chip away and unblock your liver gallbladder. Then you'll be able to get the oils to your joints and all this other stuff. And many times it's a loss of high hyaluronic acid, which is an essential fatty acid. Okay. So it is fat. It's fat that's inside there that is in even the glucosamine chondroit and all this stuff. We got bad joints and stuff like that. We need to rebuild those tissues. Well, they've got to go through fat in order to get there. Okay, so these are where we get into dietary stuff. Let me think of some other things. Okay, now we also get into, there are some herbs. There's some really good herbs that are great replacements for natural pain relievers. Okay, turmeric. Okay, turmeric has been one of these things that is absolutely shown as the curcuminoids. They're curcuminoids, and you can take curcumin. Now, there is a real art to taking turmeric. People can go to Costco and stuff like that, and they told me, first of all, you got to be on to get the pain relieving effect, you got to be on it for like 2 months. The other thing is that if you just take like a regular one in a pill, it does not absorb very well. What it's shown is that really the Indians have the right idea, which is they make dal, they make all these different curry type of stuff, and they eat a ton of turmeric, but they cook it with fat and protein. So it's made in a stew. It's either cooked with beans or it's cooked with some other types of either plant-based or animal-based protein and fat, and it's cooked over a long period of time because it combines with those things. And then now we are concentrating it, and now we're not wasting all these curcuminoids. So that's one way to do it. There are special processes of doing it, which is they make it that way so you can take it in a pill form. I recommend actually the best way to get nutrients in, especially these really hard to get nutrients, is cooking is one way, but you degrade some of the nutrients with cooking. There's a better way, and that's what's called fermenting. Now you can take turmeric and you can ferment it. And fermenting it, what it does is it does the same process as what the cooking does, but it also increases the curcuminoids because it marries up with other different organisms, and they put their spin on it too. And so Premier Research Labs make this fermented turmeric and ginger powder that you can just put into smoothie. I have people that they don't like smoothies, and so they put it in their coffee in the morning. They can make like a bulletproof coffee. Even if you're doing regular old coffee or tea or something like that, you can put a scoop of that. You won't even taste it. But what it does is it gives you the ability of now getting turmeric into your system, the anti-inflammatory and the pain-relieving part of the turmeric, but it doesn't have to take time to get in there, and we don't have to take huge amounts. We can take a reasonable dose that has been prepared, and so that it gets into our bloodstream and it gets into our blood levels and the place where it needs to go to immediately and quickly and starts to build up. Excuse me. Salicylic acid, that's what aspirin is. But aspirin was synthesized. Now, true bare aspirin is still made. The one that comes in that kind of white or the glass bottle, the really antique looking one that they still sell. That is one formula that they still apparently I haven't verified this recently, but last time I checked, is they still make it off of white willow bark. Okay, so that's where the salicylic acid comes from. Now, the other aspirins are synthesized, meaning they're not natural anymore. Now, you can also take a salicylic acid, which is, you can go to the health food store and you get it in drops. You can take it in pill form. Okay, it's aspirin. Okay, but it doesn't have the same chemical composition as the synthetic aspirins. It's not as hard. It doesn't have as much of the bleeding factor. So it thins your blood. Okay, that's part of what aspirin does. But cardiovascular surgeons, and as well as the whole medical community, is now rethinking this whole thing about baby aspirin. Is that, you know, a little bit can be too much. And it literally can still put you at a high risk of bleed outs and aneurysms and the other things. So, but in its natural form, it doesn't have that same risk, okay? So these are one of these natural things that is a natural aspirin, okay? We can start doing that. I mean, these are things that we can kind of take as if it was like a kind of a pain pill type of thing or anti-inflammatory type of thing. Now let's get into some of the other things, okay? Mechanically, if we have back pain, okay, if we were to zoom in and see what's going on, something's pushing on something. So is it the disc that's bulging out and then stretching on the nerve, creating the pain in my back, the pain that goes down my butt cheek and stuff like that? So a lot of back pain is really, it's a disc problem, okay? Now, what do we do about that? So the disc, we want to shrink the disc, right? So that's when we use, can we shrink the disc with something that's just around us all the time? And what's the best way to shrink a disc? It's actually cold. So cold and heat. Heat is something that literally relieves pain because you're making mechanical changes. Heat makes more blood flow. It swells things up. So if it's a sore muscle that is a tight muscle, that's when you use heat, because what heat will do is it's tight because it's hard like taffy. And so, and it's also doesn't have enough blood flow in it. So by putting heat on it, like a hot pack or a hot water bottle or something like that, it's my arm or something like that. Typically in the muscle body, heat is what's, unless it's a contusion. Now, if you got hit and it's all, you know, swollen, all of that, that's cold. Cold, always a trauma, okay? But beyond the trauma, we put heat on it because then it makes it warm and stretchy and more blood flow. And the blood is delivering the pain relieving natural constituents of our bloodstream, okay? Now cold, what cold does is cold, we would use cold on either a contusion, if it's red, hot, and swelling. The cold shrinks it. The cold, if it's it hurts because it's pushing on me. The cold condenses it and shrinks it. The cold put at the low back, right in the center of the low back. And I would say, you know, for people who've got some low back problem, if it's coming from the disc, get one of those weight belts or an ace bandage, get some ice packs and strap them on. So when you're sitting in the car or you're up walking around, it's still an ice pack, and you just tuck an ice pack there. And when many people have these shooting back pains that's coming from a bulging disc, the cold will mechanically shrink it and pull it back in, and you'll start to feel a lot less pain. It's not a drug, and in fact, it works way better than the drugs, because what it's doing is it's, you know, it's a mechanical thing. It's an inflated tire that's pushing on me. Can we shrink that tire? Okay. Or it's a muscle that's so tight and barely will move, and everyone's grunting trying to push it because it's nailed to the floor. That's where heat comes in, and that's then starts to move it. It also moves charges and stuff like that, okay? So that's often a go-to, is using pain-relieving types of things like cold. Cold and heat. Okay, now we get into some of the other stuff. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but I'm kind of going from mechanical to, there's other type of mechanical. We hurt our shoulder, right? Let's say we overdid it, okay? And that shoulder, now it's starting to crunch around. You know, sometimes massage helps to work on it too, okay? But once you go away from the massage, I can't massage you all the time, or you can't massage. Is there something that could do like a massage that you could do it all the time? Yes. This is what's called kinesiotape. So like those volleyball players that you see the athletics, and so there's a particular type of taping method, and what taping does is if you see pain or you see an area like a bad shoulder, right? Everything is compressed, and part of that pain is because things that are normally supposed to be fluffed up and blood's supposed to flow, it's compressed, and adhesions start to form, which then starts to twist on blood flow and nerves, okay? So taking the pain is, if you could take the pressure off a nerve and take the pressure off the blood flow, then we get more blood flow, and then we get, less pressure on the pain or on the nerve. So what the kinesio tape does is, essentially, one of the things is as you tape it in such a way that it pulls on it, and then again, it also follows one of the principles, which is, this is part of our neurology, what's called the gait theory, the pain gait theory, which is, let's say you stub your big toe, okay? Most people's instinct is to immediately go and grab it and put their hand on it and then rub it. Oh man, that hurts. Well, if it hurts, why would you touch it? That hurts more. No, because the way that it is look at these four fingers, okay? Well, these 5 fingers, okay? Camera right there, okay? So let's say this is the big toe, okay? And we stabbed it, and all of the pain is here, and this one is sending the signal, and it's all that's sending the signal. And so the pain is the only thing that's sending a signal. So imagine kind of like what they say, like horses in the gate, right? So one horse in the gate, like, horse racing, that's all you focus on, is just that one horse. But if we add more horses, then it spreads it out. And now we don't have just one to focus on, we have 5 to focus on. So what rubbing it is we add more stimulus, pressure. So that's also what the kinesio tape does, is it's something that you feel there. So just by putting your hand on your sore shoulder, kind of makes it feel better. So the tape is almost like something it's sending a signal going, something's touching this, and that starts to relieve the pain. It also does this lifting effect where it lifts up on the tissue and then brings more blood flow in it. So as we start moving around and just normal moving, even moving your head, your shoulder, your head like this, it pulls on your shoulder. So, and then as we move, the pain will, so a lot of times when I have shoulder problems, I'll tape from down here. And I won't just tape right on I'll put an X right on the tape, but we also, because the shoulder leads to the neck and then also to latissimus dorsi and all this other, so there's a way of taping it that it puts pressure on it, and then just by normal moving, including breathing, can my breathing start to massage this thing and pump this thing and start pulling the pain out of it, because what it's doing is it's bringing, again, correct blood flow, it's retraining the range of motion, it's like massage, it's constantly massaging it. So a lot of pain can be relieved, mechanical body pain can, in any part of the body, you can tape any part of the body, can help to relieve pain dramatically. Sleep. People that have chronic pain don't sleep well. This is one of the cases where sometimes finding the right, in the beginning phase, the right sleeping aids. Now, sometimes, I would prefer everyone to go natural. Now, they Premier Research Labs make this thing called Tranquinol, which has valerian root in it. So the powerful herbal sedatives that will put you to sleep. Number 1, chamomile. That one works. Even a good chamomile tea before you go. Mint and chamomile tea will be like, it's a nervonic and it helps to calm the nerves down. It literally will get you sleepy. Then the next one is valerian. That one's a very, very powerful one. That one, if you take enough valerian, that's like a knockout. We're literally knock a person out. Like the drugs do, like the Ambien, like this, these type of things. These are non-drug. Then it also has another thing called Ziziphus, which is the jujube flower. That one helps to unscramble neurotransmitters. So it's a pill that you can take that acts like a sleeping aid. Melatonin is another thing you can take. Now that's if you can't stay asleep, right? Those are some different types of aids to help you if you are getting, but there's other things that many people, stop watching so much TV before you go to bed. Because the blue light helps to screw up your neurotransmitters, which will then rob you of sleep. If you have to be on the computer or watch some TV, get some glasses that are blue blocker glasses that block that blue light, and that helps your brain not to be in such a anti-sleep mode, because the brain waves, it's literally fuzzing it out. We get into meditation. Maybe instead of that last hour or 2 hours of TV or Facebook or whatever, learn to do some meditation. There's all kinds of great YouTube meditation stuff that you can watch. You can do it yourself. Read your Bible, read any type of inspirational type of stuff. Get in the right frame of mind. Still, even if you can do dairy, like, oh my God, like watch all the old movies. Have a warm glass of milk. I mean, it works. It's tryptophan. You can also take tryptophan as a pill supplement type of thing. But warm milk is high in tryptophan, and it really does work. Make yourself a warm toddy, a hot milk, a little bit of honey. My daughter used to make this hot toddy. We used to make it for her when she was a little kid. We warm up some milk. We used to get raw goat's milk or raw cow's milk, and heat that up on the stove, and then put some honey in that, and then these little vitamin C at Whole Foods. They look like they called Lovets, and they were like these little natural, like had rose hips and everything, and they were like a little, weren't candy, but they were a chewable vitamin C, and we would crush one of those up there and mix that in some warm milk and honey, and I drank it. It's spectacular, but it is that warm milk, and it just, man, it tires you out, and it helps you to get, so the better sleep that you can sleep throughout the night, the less pain that you will maybe have the next day, and you'll help to undo these types of pain models. You think about I haven't seen any questions yet, so I'm going to keep going on. It's at 1 hour and 16 minutes. I'm going to go a little bit longer. Let me think about all the things that I have gone through. Okay, so another thing that is really going back to what's really underneath pain is there's a lot of mental anguish. There's a lot of soul pain that is, you can do everything you want for the body, and it still doesn't satisfy it, because if there's a soul pain, if there's a mental pain, it's not going to cut it. So many people getting to the bottom of pain, they've got to start, so that's counseling. That is, I like The Work. You go to thework.com. That's Byron Katie. You can go to her YouTube stuff. She's got a YouTube channel, or just look up Byron Katie, The Work. All of her work is free. You can print it up, and there's instructions on how to do it and everything like that. But it's like a homework assignment on your own thoughts and beliefs, and it gets you to drop these things that are, because you don't really believe it. You think that your anguish is based upon a belief that you hold, that's an anguish and a memory, but you never really questioned it. You never really, like, for instance, question it, not verbally, but like a book report. You will know everything about a person if you set out to do a book report on them. Basically research it and this, that, and then compile it in your own words about what it meant to you. You'll really know really well about that, because you spent the time and you spent the work. So the work gives you the ability of taking beliefs, especially the ones, the things that people want to talk about is tell me what bothers you. Tell me what angers you. Oh yeah, like this person, like they're so mean to me, or like they won't stop doing this. A lot of times our pain and anguish has to do with what other people are doing, or what other people have done, or what we've done to other people that we can't forgive ourselves. And it's all lack of forgiveness. It's all and it's all a sham, because when you really put it to this work, you don't believe it. And the problem that it's mental anguish is because you're believing an untruth, and you're making up energy to keep believing it, but it's all in the background and you don't know it. And it just doesn't feel right. And it doesn't feel right in the pit of your stomach and all this other stuff, but we don't know what to do about it. So this is a great method of, like I said, like for instance, you can teach a person how to interview anybody by just giving them a list of questions. Ask anybody these questions. Tell them to make a statement. Say, make a statement, okay? Tell me what a statement is, a statement of what you call truth. And give me one that bothers you, okay? I'll make a statement. That person better stop lying to me, or else, right? Okay, now take that statement, right? Now put the questions to it. Is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? How do you feel when you believe that? Where do you feel it? Where do you feel it in your body? I feel in my stomach, and I feel, hopeless. And then who would you be? How would you feel if you couldn't believe that? Everyone goes, oh, I feel so much lighter. I would feel, I wouldn't feel so judged. I'd feel healthier. I'd feel happier. I'd feel that's your true sense. That's what you really are. But it's buried by this other thing so this thing that you don't really want, you're supporting it. But the thing that you really are, again, who would you be if you couldn't believe that? Okay, so then just don't believe it. But you can't just not believe it. You've got to work it out. You've got to logically be able to work it out. But this is a process, being able to go through and logically go, that's right. I've worked this to this to this to this. That means I can't believe it. That means I really don't believe it. And I really believe, and I feel what that. It says I'm connected. Um, your video has been paused. Consider moving to end the broadcast. End. Sorry about that if this is still coming through. It looks like it is. So, since I'm still broadcasting. Well, I'm going to end it. Okay, thanks anyways. Bye.